McDonald here with Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, buddy?
I am fine. How are things with you?
Well, not too bad at all, but things are definitely finer with you because once again, you are on a cruise ship somewhere on the ocean, and you were just showing me your little pass where they can bring you food and drinks, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you're on a princess cruise.
Princess Cruise, and this is the coolest thing. I was a little bit underwhelmed when I first heard about it, but with this, they know where I am on the ship, and so I go into my app, and I can tell them I want food and beverage, and it doesn't matter where on the ship, food and beverage shows up, which is just way cool.
I need one of those in my house.
Well, I asked my wife if I could take this home and use the app to order food, and she told me what I could do with this.
Well, of course, the only problem is I do all the cooking in the house, so it wouldn't really do me much good anyway.
Yeah.
I'd just be calling myself. Be like, hey, Wes, go get yourself some food. Well, so super stoked to be on here today with you, Ken, and I'm glad you could join from, on the ocean. Obviously, we just finished 2021. Everyone, hopefully you had a great Christmas, Hanukkah, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate, Festivus. Really hope you had a good time. But here we are in 2022. And it's my philosophy that, one of the things we have to do before we get sort of rolling into the new year is take some time to reflect on the year that was before. So Ken and I are going to go through some of our top favorite things, or top 5 favorite things for what, came in the year before. And I know it was kind of a weird year for everybody, but let me put this up here for 1 second. Make sure you leave your questions and join the conversation. Let us know some of your top things that you enjoyed from 2021. It was a tough year. Obviously, we're still going through the pandemic, etc. But, I'm amazed at the human spirit, especially in our channel, Ken, that people step up to the challenge. And we really actually had a pretty phenomenal, year, all things considered. So we'll be going through some of ours, and make sure that you submit some of yours as well. And Ken, you can start.
Tell us where you're watching from.
Yeah, that's your favorite one. So where are you watching, or where are you in from right now?
Me, I am about halfway between Costa Rica and Jamaica. We were in Costa Rica yesterday, and we'll be in Jamaica tomorrow.
Nice. And for those that know me, I'm in Canada, and I am on Lake Erie, looking at the waves crashing in. So we both got a waterfront view today, which is pretty cool. So anyone that joins in today, make sure you do tell us where you're from, and continue to leave your questions and comments as well. You can see that scrolling across the bottom. All right, so let's get into some reflecting, Ken. And one of the things you were talking about actually before we went live is this idea that you sometimes do some journaling as well, right? And I think that's a really good idea. I like to do the same thing, not doing nearly as much of it as I should be. So maybe that's on my New Year's resolution list. But I'm going to start with the first one, top 5 reflections for 2021. And shocker, Ken, it was working with you. I have had an absolutely phenomenal year getting to know you better, working with dealers on the flat rate programs, and just can't think of a better person to align myself with. And we've known each other for a few years, but this year it's been really awesome to get to know you. And they tell you that you have to surround yourself with the kind of person that you want to be, and I can't think of a better person, and a friend and a colleague, that I've spent as much time as we have this year. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and it has been a lot of fun working with you. We've had some a lot of fun things that happened. In spite of all of the negative we could look at, you and I we had the flat rate challenge. That was a tremendous success. Even though you keep giving it away, and that it's just killing my vacation budget.
Doesn't look like it to me, Ken. Yeah, the top 10 challenge was a ton of fun, and it's really neat that I love the fact that it's out there for everybody to be able to learn from, right? And as we always say, Ken was mentioning that I'm taking his money from him because we do offer it for free for people that join the Managed Print Service Association. And that's one of those things for me that rising tides raise all ships. And I'm really happy to be able to share our knowledge and our expertise and to work with people and make sure that they can kind of adapt to the changing marketplace. And how can you go wrong if it's the BTA or the MPSA or CDA, CompTIA or some other organization, to help do better for the industry, right? So And as a perk, you get our 10-day challenge, and Ken has to take money out of his own pocket to be on Princess Cruises. So,
but yeah, no, it is nice to be able to support an organization like the MPSA. You and I both speak for the BTA. We do what we can to help the trade associations provide education, and so collectively, our collaboration in all of the things we do has been definitely a high point for my year as well.
Excellent. Well, that's great. And I think I'll move on to number 2. And this one's been a ton of fun for me, and is actually personally, I'm not sure where to put this. I didn't number anything, but this could be definitely up in the 1 or 2 range, but the Tiger Paw Top 100. So since announcing that list, and I'm sure everyone knows what that list is now. It is not an award. It is a recognition for those that are going above and beyond to help the channel, as you mentioned, Ken, to be able to develop, to be able to adapt, et cetera, right? And I have met so many interesting people that I wasn't even connected with myself through this initiative. And they have been so willing to share their learning and their knowledge. And Ken, I think you know this, but we hold a Top 100 call every week now, right? So we call it the T100 Power Hour. And it's an opportunity for the Top 100 to get together, talk about what's going on in their spaces, what they've seen. And man, like the direction that I get sometimes from some of the smartest people in the world that are freely giving away their ideas and their knowledge and their wisdom to be able to help better the industry, right? So I've had a few great interviews that have come out of that. We actually had a few great sessions. Wes McCarter from BI shared some information on the state of the copier and printer channel for 2020 and 2021, and with some predictions for the future. We also had Valerie from Gap Intelligence doing the same thing on the consumer side. And it really blew me away because I never really paid attention to the consumer side of the print industry. But it really opened my eyes on how important it is right now, especially with all this remote work, right? Like, that the devices that people are going to be using at home, they're still our customers. They're working remotely. They're oftentimes very different from the ones that they would use in the office, right? So yeah, some really cool, powerful, stuff that has come out of that. So a good friend of ours is on there as well, Mike Stramaglio, Jim Sirkleski from Clover, just a ton of folks, Art Post, Andy Sluetsky, Patricia Ames. Obviously a lot of the names are going to be ones that you recognize, but there's a bunch in there that maybe if you're not working in their circles that you may not recognize as well, but they're doing so much for their particular sector of the channel. So, for me, pretty cool, pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would say, and we didn't coordinate our list ahead of time. So if I steal some of your thunder, I'm sorry, Wes.
No, that's the best way to do it.
One of the things that's made this year better for me is our show. You and I are here together every week, with rare exceptions, and we get to talk to some amazing people. I love the fact, and then for those that pay attention and know, I have a podcast, and in between that podcast and this podcast, we have talked to and listened and learned from some very intelligent people, people a lot smarter than we are. Yep. We get the easy part. We just ask questions. We don't need the answers. And so I have loved the way that technology and communication has changed, allowing us to do things like this that wouldn't have been possible a few years ago.
Yeah, it's so true, Ken, that this technology that's available to us, and this idea that we get to talk with so many interesting and amazing people, and the guests that we've had and the guests that we will have, right? That, this is an incredible forum. It's changed so much. I can remember the days when, the only way that you could kind of get information out there was just a traditional webinar, right? So a lot of work, you get it scheduled, you get it set up, and you kind of do this one time, kind of thing, right? And the ability to do this weekly and live so that people can come in and joining the experience has been absolutely amazing. I love it. Yeah. And I did pop into your session yesterday as well, when you had your live session on. I
was only in for I popped you on the screen.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. And tons of others, right? And it's really interesting to see the use of video that people are doing. There's a guy that I really like in the IT space. His name is Bob Coppage. He does pretty much a new video every day and posts it on LinkedIn with interesting thoughts or current trends that are happening in the industry, et cetera, right? And I think we've made that that turn where video has become the new normal, right? It used to be kind of an exceptional thing. You're like, wow, I wish we had people to be able to help us with that. But it seems like everybody's, has the capability. Earl Everson's posting videos all the time for his flat rate program, right? I mean, it's truly incredible, right?
Yeah, and we've really seen that trend emerge in LinkedIn. There's been a lot of people active in the YouTube space for quite a while, but LinkedIn has gone and become a key factor now in people going live. We're live on LinkedIn right now. I go live on LinkedIn, and we see a lot of people that just go live on LinkedIn to share a thought. And I love that about our space.
I do too. And for those out there that are watching the live stream and thinking, what's the best way to get my content out there? The one thing I love about the platform that we use is that it's doing it simultaneously on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And I think the other important thing to mention there for people that are looking to make sure that they get more eyeballs on their content is that this lives afterwards, and it'll be in the native format that the channel provides, right? So a lot of people don't know this, but you should. Don't just post YouTube videos on LinkedIn. Make sure that you actually upload your videos directly to LinkedIn because the algorithm prefers that and will obviously push more localized content versus, just links, right? So upload videos directly to LinkedIn if you're doing some LinkedIn stuff.
I would say I'm going to touch on that just a little more too. I think this is one of the things that businesses way underutilize is video in all of its forms. We see people, and I talk about this one in the service management class I teach, that when somebody sends you a letter saying, hey, you did a great job, the smart thing to do now is you get on a Zoom call with them, record the Zoom call, and that goes on your website. And people get to hear your customers talk about your company in their words. And that is so powerful, and it's such an underutilized tool.
It is. And with respect for time, I could go on and on as we're prone to, but I'm going to share one more, and it's going to be Tiger Pod related as well. And I'm actually going to share my screen a little bit for this one because I want people to check out the blog. And what's been really exciting for me this year is the amount of content and guest interviews, et cetera, that I've been able to do for Tiger Pod on this very topic, right? Producing videos, educational content, and radio programs, to help the industry, right? And I've had some phenomenal guests. You can see here on the blog page that the last one that we posted was with CJ Canada and Scott Cullen. So thanks again, gentlemen, for doing the interview, getting a look inside the Canada group, what they've been doing over the years, what they will be doing into the future, et cetera, right? And just a phenomenal organization that they don't just make software, that they've given me the ability to work with them and make sure that we're doing a ton of education, right? And Ken, you and I are both, I think, educators. We're not, necessarily teaching in high schools. I know that you do some online courses, et cetera. We're both teachers, right? And have this ability to get these smart people to help teach our customers to better their businesses. It's just been phenomenal, right? So many interviews. You can see there's Patricia Ames and Amy Weiss. Thank you guys for doing the interview as well. And our good buddy, Earl Everson as well. There's a great one in there about flat rate and how he transformed his business and, moved forward there. One I really enjoyed, I like going outside of our circle sometimes too. And E.L. Katz on B2B leads. He's a specialist in actual sort of using LinkedIn and Facebook and other things, the best way to use paid advertising. Really, super love that interview. So check it out. Get outside of our space. It's not all about printers, people, as much as I love printers. There's other things that we need to learn about. But as you scroll through this, you can start to see a ton of stuff, right? I just love the, what Tiger Paw has done to be able to focus so much on education for the channel as well, right? And then there is one there. It kind of leads into my next one, Ken. I'll let you add any thoughts that you have here, but this particular one in Itech 21 actually leads into my next point, which is kind of handy, although I look pretty scary in that picture.
Yeah, I think that maybe more than any time in the past we've seen collaboration. Collaboration between you and I, collaboration between Tiger Paw and other companies. Just so many places that people are starting to collaborate and work together and share knowledge, and I think that's been a huge hallmark of 2021.
I completely agree, and it's funny that we're moving on to iTex because we've actually got a special guest coming in, who I had the great pleasure of actually meeting at Itech for the first time. And that is on my top list of reflections for 2021 was the Itech Show. It was back and it was back powerfully. And of course, there weren't the number of attendees that anyone would want. But the sessions that were there, the education tracks, the people that we got to meet were absolutely phenomenal. And we've actually got one of them coming in to join us right now. So let me hide my screen there. And I would like to introduce the world to Super Frankie.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You are clearly at the pool somewhere nice. Are you already in Scottsdale?
No, I'm not in Scottsdale. Actually, I'm in Turks and Caicos. The kids in Canada. I know you guys have an American, live stream. A lot of some American people, but in Ontario, the kids in Canada were told they're not going back to school till the 17th. So we've decided to stay in Turks and Caicos till at least the 17th, and maybe in Miami, for the last few days. So, but I do plan on being in Scottsdale for the 16th to the 18th.
Well, that's great. And one of the things that we always do, Frank, on this show is we get people to let us know where they're from. So if there's anyone out there that wants to add where they're from, feel free to. So we've kind of got a true international contingent going here because maybe you want to share, Ken, with Frank, where you are from right now.
Well, I'm between Costa Rica and Jamaica, but I was in Grand Turk on Saturday, I think it was. I forget, it was many days have gone since then. But our first stop on this cruise I'm on was in Grand Turk Island. And for those that have never been, that I don't think I've ever seen a place that was amazing as far as the beaches. It's maybe like Bimini is close, where the water is so clear. It was just an amazing place to visit. I'm assuming you're on Providenciales.
Well, that's so fun. You guys could have actually had a beer together if you lined it up.
Wow. Yeah, there's always an excuse for that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and Frank, as I was saying, Itech for me was a great show, and it's always, I always tell people that the value of these shows is not just the education tracks or the vendors or anything else, but it's the people that you meet, right? And it was such an honor. It was such an honor and a pleasure to be able to meet you and to spend some time with you. And I got to say, that was one of the highlights of the whole trip for me, was being able to meet a fellow kindred spirit, someone that cares about the industry, that loves what they're doing, etc. Right? So, yeah, it was really awesome to have made a new friend there as well.
Well, I'm glad. It was great to meet you as well. I love your energy. I think that's the thing. I mean, I think most of the guys that will be at the next show in Scottsdale, the reason why they're successful is their energy, and how, we can sell anything, right? We're kind of changing our industry. We're doing more. Some of the real estate stuff that we're doing. So we've added the real estate brokerage. We're doing, some website stuff. We're taking a air filter company public. That is one of the products we'll be talking about at the show in Scottsdale. So I'll be doing a big presentation on the Atmofizer, which is a wonderful product that you can put into offices and into, hotel rooms. And it will be like a personal care product that will be sold at, $29, $39, $49 a month that you can put in different places. That will be a great substitute for, the imaging channel, because we're all looking for something else to sell. What we do well is, sell the product, give them a monthly payment, but we're losing that product. The machines are kind of going away and we don't really need them anymore, other than obviously the production and the high end stuff. So, I'm excited for the Scottsdale show because we have a really great product coming out to show you guys as well. There's a really great product I saw that's called Wingmate. I don't know the product that well, but our industry is kind of built around lead generation and how do you get the lead, and now that we're going into all these different channels, the MPS, the MSP, the IT sector, we have to be able to take the guy that the tech that goes to the site and says, hey, I've got this IT lead or I've got this real estate lead, and how do they come together? So there's an app called Wingmate that someone is pitching me on. So I said maybe I'd talk to the guys at the show about it, but all this new stuff that's coming out is so exciting. The technology is very exciting. So I love being in the industry and taking advantage of the customers we have.
Well, that's awesome, and I love the spirit of diversification that you carry, and I'm always looking for these other diversification strategies that oftentimes people aren't thinking about, right? And it was actually a good friend and mentor for me, Chip Maselli at DPO, he's actually working with providing a lot of these big screen panels, if you will, for organizations, but not the ones that you see in the office. Like I'm talking about the ones, that you see in Times Square or in a football stadium or other things, right? Like it's just wild to see some of the things that are out there. And because of the networks that we already have, the capability to get those in the marketplace. So yeah, really cool.
That's right. I mean, I'm missing the CES. I was supposed to go to CES, for the next few days, but I agree. I love the technology, and we have the customer base. So you literally can say, hey, we've got like 3,000 customers, hundreds of thousands of devices out there now on the MPS side. So we can say, hey, we can give you a screen. So I really like it. I just think and our salespeople are so well trained to dive into the customer relationship. So I'm excited as well. I love what you're talking about.
And Greg Walters was asking, you pitched in, said, great idea, is the filter IoT. And I'm not sure quite what he means by that. Maybe you got a better idea. Or, Greg,
so the IoT, so it's a company called Atmophizer. I'll post it online. They did a great video. They had some guys that specialize in documentaries do a video for them, but it's incredible. And it's more of a capture the particle with water and some sound. It's not your typical HEPA filter, which is from the 1940s. It's more of it's a different technology. I'm not like 100%, the expert on it, but I am learning a lot more about it. But it's a very exciting product. It's called Atmophizer, and we'll be introducing it on the 16th in Scottsdale.
All right. Well, make sure you send me the link through email. And we'll make sure that we post it in the comment section afterwards as well. And Frank, can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day there to join us. And
great to meet you guys.
Yeah. Well, Ken's a guy you got to get to know too. So great to see you.
I would love that.
And enjoy your time there. And
I'm gonna get on the water slides with the kids.
All right.
All right. Try not to have too much fun.
I'm officially jealous.
I won't. But follow me on Instagram. You'll see I've got my European shorts on, and I'm making a fool of myself as usual.
Okay, I'm gonna look you.
Bye, guys. Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Right.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, he's completely awesome. He's a very clever fellow and runs a lot of very interesting businesses, and just can't thank him enough. So Greg Walters said, very cool. That was the answer you were looking for, and good to see you on the show, Greg. And that's another wonderful thing in the top 5. I really found it hard to kind of put these down, but like the people that we've had to work with, and Greg, you might have missed this earlier, but you're definitely one of those folks as well, right? Just the honor of people that are trying to do what they can to really diversify and challenge this industry and grow it in positive ways. So thanks for tuning in, brother. All right. And I know I said Itech Show. Any shows in particular, Ken, that maybe you found interesting for 2021? There weren't that many.
Well, I had the privilege of being at the BTA in Asheville, and that's probably one of my favorite shows. It's not the biggest of shows, but it's such a cool place, a cool venue that they always have. And it was really nice to be able to be there and to see old friends and make new friends. That's probably the show I've attended most from the BTA. I'm hoping that things work out where we can I can slide over. I have another event in Fort Lauderdale at the same time as the spring break event, but I'm going to try to get over and meet some people over there. Try to combine a couple of trips into one if I can make it work.
Well,
but
as I was going to say I was pretty bummed out that I couldn't be there in person. But again, 2021 and all the stuff that we've talked about for video and these new ways to share information, I still got to share my presentation virtually, and I know you were there watching it and cheering me on.
Yes. I was just regretting that I had all these tomatoes to throw at you, and you weren't there. So, and throwing them at the screen doesn't have the same impact.
No, it doesn't, and it just messes things up for the next speaker, right? So,
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I really was bummed out that it couldn't go there, but that's one of those things. I mean, not everything was great in 2021, right? So for me as a Canadian, it's been more challenging in certain situations when certain things rise. So sadly, and I'll get into it because I'm going to talk about things I'm looking forward to in 2022, and one of them I can't attend, because of the the various restrictions and stuff that are happening here now. So a little bummed out about that. So some good, some bad, but yeah, I agree. The BTA is a phenomenal organization. Brent Hoskins, Valerie, if you're out there, keep doing what you do. And for everybody that volunteers, right? Just like with the MPSA. And speaking of the MPSA, I'll probably move on to that one. One of my other top 5 highlights was the amount of stuff that we got done. And I don't know if Eric Crump is on here, Mark Hart, Joe Barganier, Tanya Stone, so many other people, Brian Stevenson, Barney Kister, Sarah Henderson, like all the people that we've worked with, Mitch Philby down in Australia. We've got an international contingent as well. And, a couple of things that came out, there's so many things that we did in 2021 to help drive the industry forward. But 2 of the big ones definitely were the RFP guide, and one that I'm going to talk about now, but you won't see for a little bit longer. But we have signed all the paperwork, and it's definitely on the way, is Managed Print Certified. And it's actually a certification that we're taking over stewardship from CompTIA for. And Barney Kister and a bunch of others, myself included, were involved in some of the initial iterations of that. It was CompTIA's Managed Print Trustmark, which is now going to be Managed Print Certified and updated for, kind of this new age that we're moving into for Managed Print. And that one in particular, as Eric Crump used to say in a lot of our board calls and other meetings, it was the elephant, right? Trying to choose all the different pieces that had to be distributed and have people working on. And it's all volunteer, Ken. Like the people that stepped in to do stuff, volunteering their own time to be able to bring this standard forward for the rest of the world, to be able to take over that stewardship for all the good work that CompTIA did with that over the years. I can't think, I can't think of a better use of people's time than what they do with organizations like this to drive the industry forward, right? So you can get the RFP guide today. And so if you respond to RFPs for Managed Print, which I'm sure you do, then you're going to want to get your hands on this. And the only stipulation is that you do have to be a member of the Managed Print Services Association, which, by the way, you can get the flat rate 10-day challenge for free if you pay as a dealer, like a couple $100 to be a member for the year. So well worth it in so many ways. And Managed Print Certified, stay tuned. It is coming very soon. We're working very hard to make sure that we get that into the marketplace, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you combine the power of the RFP guide and Managed Print Certified, there's going to be some real opportunities for dealers to accelerate their pace of success in the managed print space if you do take advantage of the MPSA and tools it provides.
Yeah, and like I said, those are just a couple of the major initiatives, but of course there was the security e-guide as well, which was updated for 2021, because we all know security challenges, although some of them were the same, there was a lot of changes that happened as well, right? A lot of bonkers stuff that that went on to change things. So definitely make sure you check it out. I've got it up now. It's yourmpsa.org. And here's Aldo Spencieri, MPS certified. Exciting. Yeah, I completely agree, Aldo. And thanks for your contributions that you have always been a long-term member for the MPSA, and just love working with Aldo. I've had the pleasure to do so for a lot of years now. Another very progressive person, always thinking about, what's next for the channel and stuff. So, and good to see you on the show, Aldo. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so make sure you check that out. And that's kind of all I have, Ken, for my 5. And I could go on, right? But I had to choose 5. It was very difficult. So, anything else? Any final thoughts for you for 2021 that you were thankful for?
Well, I was thankful for, just on personal travel. And for those that don't know, I have a travel channel that helps people with disabilities travel easier, share information. I guess you could say sharing information is one of those things that I love to do. In our channel, my YouTube channel is all about sharing information about travel. And so for me, when travel opened back up, I'm on my 7th cruise since July, when it first started. So it's nice that it's opened back up. Looking forward to, I've got several others on the agenda for the first quarter, and I'm looking forward to winding up in Fort Lauderdale and the Orlando area in April.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I love the fact that you have a show that, has a slant and a dedication for those with disabilities, something that actually helps people understand the kind of things that they can do, right? So I've always loved following your journey on that. as well. And Aldo Spencieri says, aw, shucks. Well deserved, my man. And, quite frankly, anyone that I've worked with at the MPSA, I cannot believe, the pedigree of people and things that we're doing, right? So pretty exciting. All right, let's see. It is time, Ken. It's so funny. It's exactly 11:30 on the dot. And we've now moved into top 5 predictions for 2022. Sounds very ominous, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Okay, we are going to stop tape on this now. So the year from now, we can't look back and go, I said that was wrong.
Oh, no. This is going to be for the world to take us up on, right? So if we're right or we're wrong, it's all coming out. And certainly for everyone out there that's watching, if you want to leave some of your predictions for 2022, some of the things that you think are going to change, revolutionize our industry, hold it back, whatever that might be, let us know what you think some of these top 5 predictions are. And some of mine are positive and some of them maybe aren't positive, but I think they're realistic, right? And the first one I'll start with is the return of trade shows. And I have ECS, baby. So the Executive Connection Summit, which is coming up in January on the 16th, 18th. And I'm super bummed. I was supposed to be going to this. I had my room booked. I had my flight booked, everything. But given the current times we live in and being a Canadian and some of the considerations for being able to travel across the border with this stupid Omicron virus spreading like wildfire, I won't be there. But if you are in the U.S., you should be there. You should make an opportunity to get up there. Mike Stromoglia is one of those people that has given so much to our channel. He apparently retired a few years. Hey, Ken, did you hear that rumor? Because it certainly doesn't look like he's retiring.
Sorry, I didn't miss him. Did he? It seemed like every time I've turned around, he's been out front and leading in charge somewhere. So I'm not sure. I think he's kind of like my retirement.
Yeah. So you can look, towards Kenneth Edmonds and Mike Stromoglia for a lot of advice, but not on retirement advice because you're both working harder than I've ever seen you work. And this event is actually in Scottsdale at the Tally Ho. I think this is the first one that they've had in 3 years. And I've been to a bunch of those shows in the past. It's at the Tally Ho Hotel, which, if you've never been there, is one of the most phenomenal locations you could ever wish to visit. Absolutely, love it there. So really sad I won't be there. I know that I got a message from Jenny Fisher this morning. She's definitely going to be there. And I think Frank, who we just saw in Turks, is also going to be there. He's going to be heading there directly from his location there, and a ton of other folks. They've got speakers from Microsoft. See if I can scroll down here. They've got speakers from Microsoft and other organizations doing some keynotes. And I love it. Tony Golubic is going to be there. And I think you'd have to be living under a rock if you didn't know Tony or meet Tony at some point in your life from Great American Financial Services, which has been one of my favorite partners to work with throughout the years ever. Very progressive, always doing interesting things, flexing with the times. So that's one thing I'll be bummed about, is not being able to see, Tony speak there. But Mike, Gavin, Hero, we'll be thinking of you guys in Scottsdale. And, certainly for me, that's one of the things that I still, even though I won't be there, I'm looking forward to so much, is the return of trade shows. And I really do think, having used that to, sort of color things, right, Ken, that one of my predictions is that we're going to get back to a lot more trade shows than we had in 2021, right? I think that we're smarter. We're more prepared than we've been, obviously trying to learn how to manage and deal with whatever reality that we're in. And these things are going to happen on force. So certainly ECS is going to be the start of that, for our space this year, but a ton of others. And I can't wait to go. So Mark Spring, if you're watching this, I look forward to seeing you again at Itech for 2022. Brent Hoskins, Valerie Bresno, Deborah Dennis, if you're watching this, I can't wait to get to some of the BTA events that'll be coming up in 2022 as well, right? So that's my prediction number one, is the return of the trade shows, all of them. Now, keeping in mind, I also work in the managed IT services side, managed service technology providers as well. And there are a ton of shows on that side. A lot of them didn't happen in 2021, and they will. I think I saw a post from Patricia Ames yesterday for CES, right? The Consumer Electronics Show, which actually is happening right now, which is kind of exciting too. I know a lot of restrictions. There have been some weird stuff with sponsors pulling out, etc., but at least it's happening, right?
Yeah, one of the things, and since you talked about trade show, I had on my list is I think we're going to see a lot of hybrid events become more popular as well, because hybrid events let you combine a live event and a virtual event together, which allows people that a good example is for you in a hybrid. If you can't travel there, you can still participate virtually. A good example was your participation at BT Nashville, and I think that we're going to see that emerge trend because it affects, it makes things accessible, is what I'm saying, for people that can't travel or it's a financial difficulty for them to make the trip in person. If there's a virtual component to it, they can attend and benefit without necessarily having the same commitment financially. And I think we'll see more of that maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I like that prediction, and I would love to see it continue, right? So for anyone out there that's watching this, that's involved in trade shows, make sure we up the ante for how we do that, because a lot of these learning sessions that we do and attend, we're missing a bunch of folks to be able to share that information with. So you're not going to get the live in-person connections, like I was talking about meeting Frank and a whole bunch of other people at these events, which I think is so critical. But if I can't go, I would still like to be able to get some of that learning, right? Put some money on the table and be able to virtually, get some of that learning. So I hope your prediction is correct on that one as well. All right. I've got one that is not, well, I guess it's related to our industry in some ways, but I think it's overall. And I think that passwords are finally going to start meeting their demise, right? That most of the new ways that we're going to be logging in information in this age of zero trust aren't going to involve things that people are terrible at making. Ken, I am so shocked, even in 2021, that things still ask us to create a password, right? And the jokes of people creating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, or A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, so they can remember these things. That passwords are notoriously pathetic and easy to hack because people don't necessarily have the training or the skill sets to be able to generate good passwords, right? So how many people can, if you're going to use a password, different passwords for each of the applications you're running, making sure that it's 13 to 16 characters, that it has an exclamation mark, a capital letter, case points, that you're using passphrases versus passwords. I'm not sure if you've heard that expression where you're using a phrase because it's longer, still easy to remember, but that it's less hard for computers to hack and stuff, right? So good example, Ken, this very platform that we're using right now, right, for StreamYard, there's no password. Like anytime that we actually want to log into the application, that it actually does two-factor authentication, sending us information either via text or email to be able to log in, right? So I think we're going to start seeing more of that and less of this nightmare of passwords. What do you think?
I think that's probably a very good prediction and one I'm looking forward to, because you either wind up, if you're like me and you have, I probably have 100 places at least that I have to have a password.
Oh,
and so you do one of two things. You make very simple passwords or you wind up reusing passwords, because you got to do something you can't remember that many different passwords. If you make each one of them a complex password that is different, my memories get overloaded. I use a password manager, which helps, but that doesn't help. You're working on a different computer, in a guest mode where you don't have your password manager available. So you have to find a better solution.
And you hit something there, which is so important, which is, as the world moves more online, as we start to do more things in the cloud, right? But there are hundreds of things, and it's only going to increase the number of ways that we're touching information in a way that needs to be secured somehow. And passwords ain't it, baby. So I'm predicting that passwords will fade away. We're going to start seeing more and more of these, especially cloud-based enterprises using different types of authentication, to be able to have us access our stuff, right? And please, if you're out there watching and you have some kind of password authentication for your application that we're using all the time, can we please get rid of that? So
Yeah, make it go away. Make
please.
the pain stop.
Yeah.
So I'll share one of my predictions. I
Okay.
think that we're going to see the continued evolution of the workplace. I think that some of the changes that took place starting in 2020 when COVID first started, I think we're going to see them evolve. But I think that the days of everybody working in the office all of the time are probably days of from the past. The good examples, I've been working on this cruise. Our guest earlier is working from an item where I think that to see those kinds of capability continue and working from home offices and working remotely, I don't think that's going to ever go back to the way it was.
No, I don't think it will, Ken. And actually, that probably takes me back to this one. This will be my next prediction. Is that remote work is here to stay, right? So this whole idea of this hybrid workforce, people working from home, and it really depends on the person you talk to, right? I hear some people say, "Oh, I hate working from home. I can't wait to get back to the office." I see some people saying, "This is the best thing that ever happened to me. Getting rid of 2 hours of windshield time or 3 hours of windshield time, more time at home to be able to do other things." The people are actually working more, right? And I know I do because if an idea hits me at a certain hour, I will come into my office and I will start working on it. It doesn't matter if it's 8:30 in the morning or 7 at night, right? That I'll take different kinds of breaks during the day, right? That there's this flexibility that I think we're going to become a very outcome driven sort of workforce. And I don't think that would be a bad thing, right? That I think business outcomes, we all talk about it. That we're going to have to start practicing more what we preach is that flexibility for business outcomes that we're asking our customers, to really focus on, that all of us have to do a better job of making sure that, whatever happens, that we give people this flexibility, right? So if it's 100%, return back to the office, if that's a mandate, I don't think that's going to be a good call in 2022. So if anyone has positive comments about that or negative comments, I'm with you that the way we work is never going back to the way it was, right, Ken?
I agree 100%. And in fact, I saw some data from a survey, and one of the conversations on my podcast recently about it was the fact that there are lots of people that say if they have to go back to working full time in the office, they're not going back. And we hear resignation. There's a huge churn, let's say, in the workplace right now, where people that had been traditionally working from an office, don't want to go back. People are leaving companies. It's interesting. We had gone for at least a couple of decades where companies had the upper hand. It was a very tight job market. It was hard to find jobs, and people were very stayed in place very consistently. But now what we see is there's a plethora of jobs. How'd you like that big word? I had to work one big word in
plethora. Oh, you say plethora, yeah. I say plethora.
Yeah. You don't even want to get me started on different words. But, there's so many jobs available and there's so few workers. And that's going to transform our industry in particular. Salespeople are going to be more difficult to acquire and retain. Service technician jobs are going to be more challenging, and labor costs are going up. There's a lot of things that are going to be associated with this evolving workforce, and I think that is going to impact us.
Well, and that actually leads into my next point, but I'll finish off on Greg Walters' point here before we move on to that. That he says it really is outcome based, which we talked about, not process monitored, and removes middle management. And that's really one thing I hadn't thought about, is that this whole idea of remote work actually does get rid of a certain pedigree of folks that help sort of take care of things within the office, right? So interesting point there, Greg. Thanks for that. I hadn't really thought about that. All right. So as you started talking about hiring, Ken, that was actually on my list as well, that it's only going to get worse, that it's not going to get easier. And I put particularly techs, and this is kind of your field as well, right? But everyone I've spoken with, it's so difficult that we have in the office equipment channel in particular, so many people, technicians, senior technicians at retirement age, which were either furloughed or close to retirement age, furloughed or laid off as people are printing less in the office, and a lot of time on their hands. And a lot of them are just saying, I'm not coming back. Like, nope, I think, this has been good for me. I've really enjoyed these last 7 or 8 months, and there's nothing you could do to get me to go back and, deal with the customer complaints and stuff that all go along with, fixing broken equipment, right? Like I'm done. The second part, I think, is hard, my prediction there. And it's actually, I was watching a program for the Top 100, and Joel Vaslow was doing a presentation on hiring retention, and he was talking about one section on how we get people more excited, younger people, getting them into the workforce, right? And that's a big challenge for us, Ken, because let's face it, until I came into the office equipment channel, I had no idea what the hell it was. And I didn't care. Even when someone tried to explain to me what it was, I was like, I'm not going to work in that industry. Well, hello, 25 years later, right? But you know what I mean? Like, we have an image problem, and I don't think it's going to get better or easier with other options that are coming out, right?
I agree. One of the things that's changing and is making that tech issue worse is the fact that, 15 years ago, you could hire somebody and expect it to stay in that company, till they retired if they could make it work. The generation of millennials and X, Ys, and Zs that are coming on, what we see is they have seen the Great Recession and people getting laid off. So many things happened in their life as they were coming up that they no longer have that expectation. Now, I Googled, you want to know something, Google it. I Googled millennial job expectation, and it's 3 years. Well, in our industry, 3 years, what it takes you to train a technician.
Right.
So what that means is, and this is one of the things we spend a lot of time talking about and thinking of in my service management class, is that dealers have to figure out ways to not only hire people, but to create an environment that they want to see, and that environment they people an opportunity to progress. Because elsewise, they come in, you're going to train them to move. They're going to move to another company. They're going to move to a position in your company, or they'll move out of the industry. But they're building their resume for 3 years.
Yep.
And so I think that is a huge piece of that.
I agree, and I think it's also a good thing, because God forbid people love where they work, right? And I've never had a very good career or ladder climbing sort of focus or mindset. And I've always had to love where I work and love the things that I'm doing, right? But I would certainly say that that's not necessarily the norm, right? That, it's very difficult. A lot of people in the past would, work in jobs that they maybe didn't like so much or love so much. But I'm with you. I think that's changing, right? With these younger generations coming into the workforce. So, yeah, absolutely.
I think very much so. And so, again, it's just one of those things that we have to think about and plan for and change. And I think maybe the big prediction for me for 2022 is going to be another year of change. We're going to have to think about, I'm going to go here into one other thing that you and I talk about a lot, and I think we're going to see more of. And we talked a little bit earlier, is the expanding product mix. I think that it is going to become more and more difficult for dealers to be just copier dealers. I think the ones that are going to be very successful and very profitable are the dealers that learn to mine their existing customer base, because they have customers that spend a lot of money that they're getting a very small piece of. They just do expand that piece to achieve phenomenal growth for their.
Yeah, agreed. And it looks like you chopped out there a little bit, but I'm going to add to this is that hiring in particular, because it is going to get worse, that's not all bad, that there are a couple of very easy ways to kind of mitigate at least some of this pressure, right? One, make sure that your tech utilization is as high as it can be. And that should go for anyone in your organization, right? And the way that you do that is automation. So yes, another unabashed plug for Tiger Paw, to make sure that you have some kind of business management automation platform in place. That should be standard number one, right? Number two is, Ken, and you work on the service side, right? That, we have lived and built our business models around, honestly, a lot of service on a lot of devices that require a lot of service, right? So that we're going to have to start working with devices that are maybe have less service requirements. And Ken, this too on the printer side, right? That, a lot of the service, air quotes, that's done on some of these printers is actually just replacing the cartridge, right? Like a ton of service is actually done by, stuff that's just being replaced in these devices. That's not going to fix everything, But I would say that those two things, making sure that we have more efficient devices and a more efficient workforce, those are definitely going to help at least alleviate some of this trouble. But I don't think 2022 is going to be an easy year, for that, right?
No, I don't either.
And what's this? Or work, Greg says, or work with people that they wouldn't socialize with. Give it a choice. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, right? I think it's going to be the year where people are going to have to really start focusing on culture. And I've been very blessed with the organizations that I've worked with over the years. And that's one of the things that I always look for, Ken, is like you said, it's one of my greatest strengths, one of my greatest deficits. I have to love the people and the places that I work, right? So, but that hasn't always been the case. And I know a lot of organizations that are still my way or the highway, or this is how things are done. And that these cultural fits are going to have to be much more flexible, I think, and adaptive and much more positive to keep people in there, right? So Greg couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that.
All right. So I got one more, Ken, and we're 10 minutes before the hour. So I guess we better get this one out of the way. Flat rate models will dominate. And I mean that with all sincerity, right? That we've seen this cost per page world that we've lived in slowly bleeding out over the last few years. Definitely saw a lot more of that happening in 2021. And I think 2022, people are going to be much less afraid of different flat rate models if it's by device, like Konica Minolta does with their one rate program and some of the other OEMs do. If it's by user, which some people do if they're using, some kind of software for user management and rules. And by the way, there's improved security with that as well. Or a combination of the two, right? That whatever happens, if it's device-based or user-based or some combination of the two, whichever model kind of becomes predominant, the one that is not going to see a lot of face time in 2022 is a return to cost per page. So agree with me, disagree with me. I guess we'll find out at the end of the year. What do you think, Ken?
Well, and it's interesting because I had that on our list, my list as well. And West and I did not coordinate our list. We just each made up a list and decided we'd chat, which is what we always do. But I think that first of all, it is such a user-centered billing method. The clients love it, so I think we're going to see more of that. We've talked a lot about the subscription economy. Yeah, and it's funny. I see dealers that I'm not changing my billing model, but I remember because I'm the reason flat rate exists. Yeah, you probably go back this far as well, because when I started in this industry, dealers billed by the hour for labor, they charged for parts, and they sold toner. But when I came along and people like me in the industry, we started selling toner less than the dealers would sell it. And what happened was the dealers had to find a different model to protect their black gold base. Elsewise, I was taking I was selling their fuser oil and their toner and whatever parts they were selling. A lot of times to the customer, I would sell them for less than they would sell them. Yeah. And so that forced the industry to change models. We're at the same kind of inflection now with the change from a click-based, because that one's going down to, exactly the same thing that happened in the toner sales side of it, is prices went into free fall and you couldn't make your profit. So now we have to change the billing model. We're at the same point now where when you're making no clicks at nothing, it's hard to make a living. So it's time for the change.
Yeah, it really is. And certainly Ken and I more than love to help you with that. And if that's, for free, if you join the MPSA and actually do the 10-day challenge and, do all this stuff on your own, or if you choose to work with us to help you through your contracts, through your sales compensation plans, through your business modeling for your customers, et cetera, right? And if you want to learn a little more, you can visit flatrate.world. This is a page that we've actually created for end users that they go to when they're looking for flat rate options. So certainly encourage you to work with us. And I'll just get rid of this now. Let's see if I can go back to this. And that leads me to the final point, which we always finish with, Ken, which is the flat rate 10-day challenge. It's alive. It's out there. You can get access to it. You can either pay Ken and I for it. We charge about $240 for it. We'd be happy to take your money. Ken loves that. Or you can, let me see if I can bring this back up here. Where did I put it? Oh, no, did I lose the page? Oh, I lost my page. You can join the Managed Print Service Association. And if you do that, then Ken doesn't get his $240. You get it for free, and you get to make a difference in the channel. So I'm telling you, join the MPSA. It is cheaper than what we charge if you're a dealer than it is for the 10-day challenge on its own. And you get to join this phenomenal organization and do some good. So my final MPSA plug is up there on the screen. YourMPSA.org. It's really that simple. All right. Well, Ken, that was a ton of fun. I am so glad in this modern world that we live in that you were able to join me on your Princess Cruise. And it was really nice to have Frank come in as a guest, you know, a surprise visitor. It's really always just amazes me the technology at our fingertips, no matter where we are, right? So let's continue to evolve our businesses, continue to change how we're doing things to better help all of our customers. And Ken, I had a great 2021 with you, and I am so excited about the year ahead for us.
Yep, I am looking forward to it. And next week's show, I'll be back on land.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Although today it's amazing. Your internet, however they're delivering it on the cruise ship, is actually really good. So, all right. Until next time, everybody.
This is the other one.